Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and welcome to the Do Good Marketing Podcast, where we talk about all things marketing and marketing done good. My name is Moni Oluide. I am the owner and founder of Mo Martech, where we teach all things marketing to professionals and business owners to show them the right way to drive results. Welcome to episode 3 of the Do Good Marketing Podcast. This is all about the future of content marketing with our guest, Lashay Lewis. Lashay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, hello. First of all, thank you for having me.
Of
So
course.
appreciative. Um, my name is Lashay Lewis, and I run a B2B content strategy consultancy. I help B2B SaaS companies, high growth ones, create a bottom of funnel content strategy. And I've been a little bit about my background. So I've been doing content strategy for maybe about 15 years if you wanna count from teenager. If you wanna count from adulthood, maybe like 13, 12 years.
Mhm.
But it started with me building my own little websites and figuring out content strategy for myself, and then, trying to put names to things and things like that. And then once I hit my 20s, I started working for content marketing agencies and SEO agencies and started to get a little bit of behind the scenes about how they work and how they function. Fast forward to when I was about 26, I started in B2B SaaS specifically. Fun fact, I used to absolutely hate SaaS. I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. I didn't understand how people did it, but I tend to be attracted to challenges. And I was like, this is hard and boring. So I was like, okay, let me see if I could figure this out. And 3 or 4 years later, I'm running a consultancy around the very thing that I used to hate and helping some companies in the process. So that's a little bit about me and my background and what I do.
Awesome. This should be a fantastic conversation. So the to set the stage for this conversation, look, there is significant change going on in marketing, right? We can all tell it, we can all feel it, right? It feels like the next 15 years is not going to be the same as the last 15, right? So I want to talk about sort of what you see as the future, what's changing, what's different, what's some of the old tactics we may bring into the new, what's going to be just like radically different in the future. But to set the stage, like what do you see as the status of content right now? What give me, in your opinion, the state of content marketing today?
So, just going back to your point of how things used to be versus
Mhm,
how things will be in the future, like,
mhm,
so at least from a content realm, how things used to be was very algorithm centric, where
mhm,
people would put a heavy focus on, okay, I need to rank this piece in Google, so on and so forth. I got to make sure X amount of keywords are included in the content because I want to be able to rank. It's starting to be less of that and more buyer centric, um, especially when you start injecting AI into things.
mhm,
So, what I talk about a lot is the reason that this kind of AI bubble has, and some people would argue with me that it hasn't burst yet, but at least in the content space, it kind of has, is because the first use case for AI when it came out was scale. Oh, I can scale my content, I can
right,
scale my operations, I could scale this and scale that. And then once people start to scale, and then Google comes back and starts slapping your stuff down because they're like, hold up, this isn't quality, right? This is just like
right,
how much content can I get out in X amount of time?
exactly.
Um, then people had to double back and say, okay, why did this happen? And that resulted in like people's traffic numbers plummeting and all types of things. But
Mhm,
once they started to catch whiff of like, okay, I'm not going to be able to use AI to scale. Like it's just too good to be true. Usually, when something is too good to be true, you
yeah,
know, and it's like
mhm,
now that they're having this realization, like, okay, I can't just put AI on content and just scale it. I need to focus on my customers' buying journey and
mhm.
buying patterns and things like that. It's like now the realization is setting in, okay, let's become a little less algorithm focused and more customer focused. That's what I'm seeing, at least from my end, specifically for content. Yeah.
I think that's spot on. I call it trying to game the system, right? We all
Yep.
did the I said it's like it's not 2016 anymore, yo. You just can't
Man,
keyword stuff and play the Google game and try to catch up with the Facebook algo and the Google algo. Like
I used to be one of those people, right?
we
Like
all were.
I used to I used to be one of those people that would like buy PBNs and
Hmm.
put them on the website to try to rank it and have my own little private blog network and stuff like that. And I used to try to like get the keywords in where I could fit them in to make sure we rank properly until you step into the B2B world and you're like, hold up, this doesn't work
Mm-mm,
like I thought it would work because,
mm-mm.
and I tell people all the time, I'm like, okay, you can stuff keywords in the content all you want. You might rank, but what does ranking mean if you don't convert? Right. So it's like, in order to convert, you have to be customer centric. But also, what I find is that the more customer centric you are in your actual article, Google will do its job and rank you on its own without you
Yeah,
having to put any link building or anything on the back of that. I run my whole consultancy on being customer centric and
right.
I don't build any backlinks for any of my clients. We just
Nope.
focus on the depth of the content and how it hits on their prospects pain points. And once you can hit on those pain points properly, especially if the buyer is more toward the end of their journey, which is like, for anybody that
Hmm.
doesn't know, I focus on BOFU, meaning bottom of funnel, meaning that the person is right at the end of their journey, they're ready to make a buying decision. So it's like when they're that close to a buying decision, you need to get more granular with what you're offering them. It's less about, oh, can I fit this keyword in this H2 and things like that, and
Right.
more about, okay, does the capability of my product directly solve a pain point? And if it does, how can I communicate that effectively through the content?
Exactly. I mean, I think that's part of what the shift is happening in general. So it's just like, I feel like a lot of times for many years in content marketing, it was HubSpot kind of jacked us up where it's like you create a bunch of content and like something's got to hit and eventually they'll
Right,
show up. And if,
right.
instead of like what you're saying is like, no, what's the problem we're solving? Like, what does our audience actually value? What's the benefit of our product or service? Let's create content around that because that's
Yep.
what's actually going to make them convert over. So, Glenn, like to your point about bottom of the funnel, where do you see businesses most go wrong with bottom of funnel content? Where do they mess up most often?
It's a couple different things, right?
Hmm.
So so one of them is looking at bottom of funnel content, how they do top of funnel.
Mm,
So for anybody that doesn't know, top of funnel content is more like what is topic statistics, just very high level. Somebody's at the beginning of their buyer's journey, they don't know really how to put a name to their problem,
hmm.
versus bottom of funnel where they're buyer ready, they're solution aware, like they know how to put a name to the problem. And it's
Hmm.
like people try to write bottom of funnel content the same way they try to write top of funnel content, and it
Yes.
doesn't work that way, mainly
Hmm.
because, and it's weird to see, it's like people, there's like a balance. So it's like some people don't sell the product enough,
Hmm.
and other people sell the product too much.
Mm,
So it's like you have to find that balance. So what I mean when I say they don't sell the product enough, right? So if they have a list of, okay, the best payroll management softwares, right? That would be deemed a bottom of funnel term because somebody's looking for the
hmm.
best whatever it is. And
Hmm.
then you have a list of payroll softwares. A lot of
Hmm.
times I see that the person that's writing the article does not put their company first
Hmm.
in the article, and it's like this thing where they're like, "Oh, well, I don't wanna make it obvious that we're trying to say we're the best." I'm like,
Mm,
"Well,
mhm.
that's what we're doing this for, right?" Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like it's called
Right.
content marketing. You're supposed to market. Um,
Right.
and then other times I'll see them, like, not go in depth enough about the product. They'll, like,
Yeah.
skim over their product and then talk about everybody else's thing. It's like,
Right.
and I tell people, I'm like, it's a little bit dense of us as marketers to think that they don't know they're on our website. Like they know the logo
Right.
up in the corner. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
you have to hide that. You know what I mean? Like they know
Right.
they're on. but you also have to assume they've got two or three other tabs open. So it's like those your competitors aren't selling you. So why are you selling them? Now,
Exactly.
to preface that, and I get a lot of like back and forth and rebuttals on this, but it's like you don't have to trash talk your competitors, right? You can talk
Right.
about what they do well
Right.
versus what you do well, because somebody that is looking for a solution like yours might have a different set of criteria that they're looking for versus if they're looking for one of your competitors.
Correct.
You know, and it when you let them know what to look for, it helps them self-identify. So by the time they get to the sales team, they've already identified, okay, I'm the right person for this thing. You're making the job on sales easier by doing that.
Right. A thousand
Yeah.
percent. I think you hit on it. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's help them make the decision, right? If
Yeah.
they're looking for a term like, best insert name software, right? They're clearly looking for a set of solutions or capabilities. It could
Yep.
be based on price. It could be based on this sort of set of thing. It could be based. So do that work for them, right?
Right.
So they can self-identify, like you said, for you. Sometimes not everybody is for you, and businesses are afraid to let those people go instead of
Right.
wasting sales times on them. This is where marketing comes in and helps them out. It's like, look, we're good at this thing. We nail this thing excellently. We may not be for you if you care about these sorts of things. That's okay. That's
Right.
totally all right. Right?
Yes.
Like let them be able to self-identify and help them like self-select of which feature functionalities, product categories that they care about the most.
Yep, that's literally it. And I think you mentioned something there about sometimes they don't want to let the lead go even if it's not a good one.
Yes.
Yes. Like I see this a lot where it's like, "Oh, I'm focused on the volume of how many leads did we get? How many leads did we get? How many leads did we get?" But the real question is how many qualified leads did we get? Doesn't matter really how many leads you got. How many of those leads are qualified? Like how many
Right.
can you sell on your solution? And I try to instill this thinking into marketing leaders where I'm like, okay, would you rather get, and again, this goes back to bottom
Mm-hmm.
of funnel because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
bottom of funnel will have like 20 searches a month, where the other thing is like 50,000 searches a month. Like,
Exactly.
why are we going after this thing with 20 searches and we've got a keyword with 50,000 right here? It doesn't make any sense. Like, this is ass backwards thinking, right? That's what they think. But in actuality, it's like, would you rather have four out of these 20 people? And in side rant, let me just say this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always take keyword volume with a grain of salt. Like it's not
Mm.
exactly what it is. So if it says
Mm-hmm.
it's if Ahrefs says SEMrush, if anything else says 20 searches a month, it's probably not that. It's probably
Right.
more. 20 is like an average, right?
Right.
So if you see this thing and it's like, okay, this bottom of funnel keyword, it has 20 searches a month. Would you rather have four of those be qualified and actually sign up for a demo or talk to somebody from the sales team? Or would you rather
Yeah.
have none of the 50,000? Because, and then people might be like, oh, well, 50,000, somebody's got to say it. If
Mhm.
the intent is not there, they will not do it. Doesn't matter how
Girl,
many people it is.
I can't tell you how many SEO meetings I've been in about top of funnel content that the content ends up being what is the thing.
Right.
So what is network security? What is product software? Like, girl, if they're looking for that, that's not your buyer. They have no clue what you
They don't even
do.
know what their problem is yet. They're like, what is
Exactly.
network security? Like, no. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
Why are
and
we
that's
creating
another
content for
thing.
this?
You just okay. So somebody looking up like what is network security? A lot of the times that I find that companies can't write good bottom of funnel content is because the knowledge of the writer is not higher or the same as the knowledge of the reader,
Oh,
right?
talk about it.
So when when a prospect or potential prospect comes and reads that bottom of funnel article, usually it's somebody being tasked by a higher up to
Mhm.
say, come find a solution. So they're reading and they're reading and they're reading, which is
Mhm.
a lot of time why I feel like bottom of funnel session duration times are usually longer
Mhm.
than other parts of the funnel. So I've seen
Mhm.
session duration times is like as long as 8 minutes
Yeah.
on some bottom of funnel articles. Like that person is reading. Like, so if they read through that and you don't know what you're talking about, like they're gonna smell it immediately.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And this is the problem with companies trying to hire random freelance writers to bring them in to write the content,
Yeah.
because a lot of them don't have like a niche specialized focus in the thing that they're writing about.
Right.
So when that person comes to this article, like they don't need the, oh, what is, they need, okay, this is the product capability, here's
Yes.
the pain point that you're dealing with,
Right.
here's the outcome that you're going to get, like this is the information they need. And then not only are they not specialized in the field that they're writing about, but they're also not even knowledgeable on the product that they're
No,
selling.
not at all. 1,000%. Hit it on the head. How do you, so what do you have any tips for businesses with trying to create bottom of the funnel content? So like even like doing the kind of product comparison I see a lot of businesses resistant to. When they think of bottom of the funnel content, they think, how do I get someone to watch my demo? Like that's always what, or take a free trial,
Yeah.
right? So where's the, how do you close the gap there? Because it just can't be like, a lot of people are not ready for that. They're still like trying to research and like find out, like narrow down their top three or whatever. And people want them to go straight to a trial and they don't want to do it. So, do you have
Mm.
any advice between like, okay, I know the goal is to get them into a demo or trial, but they're not ready yet? What kind of bottom of the funnel content can we create to kind of close that gap for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. First of all, like setting that expectation with
Mm-hmm.
them, like we are targeting bottom of funnel. This is going to be one of the closest points that your prospect gets before conversion. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, just letting them know that. More importantly, if they are in a B2B or enterprise space, like, it's going to be important to let them know, okay, your sales cycles are anywhere from 6 to 9 months, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
to think that the person is going to come on the article and say, okay, I want to sign up today and I'm going to do your highest enterprise, like it's setting that expectation.
Yeah.
My friend Taz Bober has a name for this. She calls it consumption rate optimization instead of conversion rate
Hmm.
optimization. Meaning, if somebody comes to the if somebody comes to a blog or a landing page or what have you, you need to be measuring the consumption, because
Mm.
people don't convert off of one touch a lot
No.
of the time. Like they need to
Nope.
see you over and over and over. You
Correct.
need to try to make the short list of other solutions that they're considering, because it's
That's
not
right.
just you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
so I think the biggest thing is just like setting that expectation with them and letting them know, like, you will get some conversions from this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also setting the expectation that like SEO is a moat. So as you start building on it,
Yep.
it'll compound over time. You might
Yep.
not get any inbound leads month one or month two, but month three, you might get four. And then
Yes.
we do five more articles. And then month four, you might get six. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like
Yes.
compounding interest in letting them know about that. But I think the most important thing is just like level setting that expectation of like,
Mm-hmm.
you might not get a lead right away. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but what we should be measuring is not just the conversions, but how this person consumes what you're
Mm-hmm.
giving to them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much there. I think the so before we move away from the kind of, we probably won't move away from the funnel conversation, but to add to the funnel conversation is, why does everyone struggle in the middle? Right? I feel like there's a lot of top of funnel, right? They, I think they struggle with bottom of funnel, but they know it's there. And like I said, they
Right,
have something. They just don't know how to get them to that place, whether it's like I
right.
said, trial them or whatever. But the middle is like non, it's a desert. There's
Yeah, yeah,
nothing
yeah.
there. Like,
Totally.
why is the middle like so freaking hard?
Because it's more ambiguous.
Mm,
Like, so middle of funnel content, for anybody that doesn't know, it's more of like a how to
mm-hmm.
do job to be done. So your whatever your product helps the person do, finding a search term around that. And then getting deep into, so like when you actually start to write, getting deep into the functionality of the product. And a lot of people have a misconception about middle of funnel content, that it's like, oh, it's like top of funnel. It's literally like a mix between top and bottom, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're educating the person, but
Mm-hmm.
you're also weaving your product in where it makes sense,
Right.
um for them to be able to say, okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so and again, this comes back to like having writers that understand the product at a deep level. Now when I said that before, I didn't preface, but a lot of the time, like when writers come in and they don't know the product, it's not the writer's fault. It's usually leadership's fault
Right.
because they don't collect the collateral that the writers need in order to be able to write product led content. They just don't
Right.
do it. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like with middle of funnel, again, it is more ambiguous and it's trickier. Um, but a lot of the time, like I find that middle of funnel articles do actually convert really well if
Hmm.
you can position them in a way where it's like, okay, how to manage your payroll, right? Okay. So
Mhm.
you walk them through how to manage their payroll. It's a couple different ways you can do this, right? You can walk them through how to do it with your product.
Right.
You can walk them through how to do it the manual way and
Mhm.
then walk them through how to do it with your product. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
a couple different ways you can attack that. But yes, I think people struggle with middle funnel content so much is because it's fluid, where it's
Yeah.
like top of funnel is like very definition based. It's very well,
Mhm.
it's usually objective. And
Right.
I tell people content like the main difference between top and bottom of funnel content, like if we're just taking out the middle of funnel, like the and we're on two totally different sides of the spectrum. It's like, okay, top of funnel content, very definition based, very objective.
Mhm.
Bottom of funnel content, very subjective. You're saying, I'm the
Mhm.
best. I think
Mhm.
I'm the best because
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z. Where it's
Mhm.
like top of funnel is just like, oh, okay, so but I tell people too, I think top of funnel content should be subjective as well. I
Hmm.
think the moment somebody enters your ecosystem, they should understand your take on the status quo.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah, like
Yep.
I don't think you getting them to the middle or the bottom of the funnel to do that. I think the moment they enter your ecosystem, like you need to ingrain
Yeah.
in them how you see whatever it is that you do.
For sure.
Um, and that's how you become even thinking like a little bit higher, like brand level. Like
Yep.
that's how you become differentiated as a
Exactly.
brand. You know,
Exactly right.
like even thinking about me and my own consultancy, like the moment somebody follows me, they already know, like, okay, she thinks that search intent is more important than search volume. She
Mhm.
focuses on bottom of funnel. She believes in
Mhm.
repeatability and systems.
Exactly.
And, so just
Yep.
letting them know right away. That's how you build real fans of a business for sure.
For sure. I call it like having a philosophy, right? You
Yes.
have a philosophy, a point of view about how you think about the world.
A point of
And
view. Totally.
people attract to people who are like-minded. So once they agree with how you think, okay, it's a lot easier to move them down. It's like, okay, at least I agree. Now I can make a connection. We can like
Yes.
vibe and keep it
Yes.
going. For sure. To
Totally.
that point, so there's a whole conversation with content that I think is missed that is really like good communication skills, right? Like my
Mhm.
whole thing with marketing in its current state is it's not well communicated. We put a lot of pressure on content that's bad. It's not
Yeah.
good. We
Yeah.
expect it to be a freaking magic wand because you built a white paper and now 20 people got to download it and turn it into revenue. No, that's not how
Right.
that goes, right? So
Right.
like what when you approach your clients, I'm sure there is a conversation about, like you said, what's the problem here? Like, what's the real issue? Do we have, does it align with what the audience says? Like, what does that work for you to make sure that the copy and the actual crux of the content is good enough that you think it's going to get conversions out of it?
Yeah, that's another great question. So it goes back to what you said about communication.
Hmm.
So when companies are having a bottom of funnel problem, a lot of the times it's not it bottom of funnel is a result of the problem.
Right.
The problem is lack of communication amongst teams, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy because I didn't figure this out until I started consulting, but a lot of teams just don't communicate with each other. A lot of in-house internal teams, like their communication is siloed. So it's like
Hmm.
marketing only talks to marketing, product only talks to product, when in actuality marketing should be talking to product should be talking to sales should
Hmm.
be talking to it needs to be
Hmm.
cross-functional communication because you don't have cross-functional communication, that's how your messaging gets murky. It's like content thinks that the product is one thing and then product thinks that the product is another thing and then
Right.
sales thinks it's like the sales team can let people know the pain points that the prospects are saying when they come in, and then product goes and iterates on capabilities that solve that pain point, and then product lets content know, okay, here are the biggest benefits of the people using the product. It's like
Right.
everything
Yep.
is connected, you know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like people having a bottom of funnel problem is more of a communication issue, and that's one thing that I like to like get in place right away. It's like, so
Mhm.
I tell people like I bridge the gap between content and product. Um
Mm.
because really that's what it is. It's like if you have a
Mhm.
bottom of funnel problem, you one of two things. You're either not communicating with the product team how you need to be,
Mhm.
or you guys are communicating but you're not communicating about the right stuff.
Right.
So you and again, it took me months to figure this out,
Yeah.
but that's the real problem. It's a lack of communication. Yeah.
Internal communication is 1000%. I mean, the silos are crazy. I also find that it is always fascinating to me how many other teams dictate the messaging
Oh
that's not
yeah.
in marketing.
Oh
It's like
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
executive team, product team, engineering. It's
Yes.
like none of these people are mark, and then the copy ends up being very jargon heavy, and
Yeah.
it's like who what I don't know what you're saying.
It's a too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing, right?
Hmm.
So it's like product might come up with like, okay, what is our homepage supposed to say? What is it supposed to look like? Then it'll go through marketing, then it'll go through the VP, then it
Hmm.
might go through the CMO, and by the time it gets on the website, it's watered down,
So
right?
bad.
Like it needs to be not as many people touching that. Specifically, I find that product marketers are able to explain the product the best,
Hmm.
especially well, at a certain point, some companies start to lean more into brand
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Product marketing is more straightforward, where we're like, okay, we do this thing. Where
Hmm.
brand marketing is like more ambiguous, like we're just, I hate to use the word revolutionize because that's very like AI, but like,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
transform your whatever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Versus saying,
Yes.
okay, we streamline payroll for small businesses,
Right. Simple.
a payroll management for SMB.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the thing. Like that's
Right.
it. So to me, teams aren't utilizing their product marketers enough.
Right.
And I say that all the time, like they're just over there in the corner. Like, no, like if if the product team and the content team talks like they have competitor intel, I
Yeah.
could take that competitor intel and go find some keywords that we can write. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
so important to have that just cross-functional communication, and so many companies don't have it.
It's pretty bad. I mean, like I said, that's the kind of this that's the stuff I focus on a lot because I felt like the pressure on marketing to produce was being fueled by bad marketing in a sense.
Right.
It's just like
Right.
people will give you just such verbose, dry, not interesting content and expect you to make magic out of it. And it's like, this is not how
Yes.
this goes at all. And it's very frustrating. I feel like also like the things that marketing are supposed to control are out of its control. And messaging is one of those things like that's
Mm,
supposed to
mhm.
be marketing's driving function. And like you
Right.
said, executives got to play in it, product got to play in it, engineering got to play in it. And it's just like, well, I'm this is what we supposed to do. Like, why are you telling me what we supposed to be doing? And I
Marketing is
feel
like marketing is like one of those jobs where it's like everybody tells you how to do your job because
exactly,
everybody thinks they're a marketer and they know how to market, and
exactly.
it's just one of those things where it's like, ugh. And that
Hmm.
comes back to leadership, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's good communication is like a culture, right? It's
Hmm.
not like it. And one thing I see that like separates people, and this goes back into leadership, but like how goals are set, right? So if it's like
Yes.
individual goals per team, like you got to do this and you got to do that, versus saying, okay, let's collectively
Yeah.
together hit these numbers. That way it's not, ooh, so okay, let's see if us as the marketing team can beat out sales this month on our, like if
Right.
you bring the teams together, you might squash that sales and marketing beef.
1,000%. So I mean that's a great segue into sort of my next question, which is like even starting with developing a content strategy. I feel like people even start off on the wrong foot. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I feel like, listen, I get that ROI and leads drives the business, but I feel like that leads you to asking the wrong questions and therefore you get the wrong result, right?
Mhm.
So we build a content piece thinking, okay, we want X amount of leads out of this, and not what does the audience want? What is the problem that we're solving for? Where does this fit in our tofu, mofu, bofu? Like there's the questions aren't right to set you up in the right way to get the right results from content. So there's a lot of things to think about with content, right? There's the audience, there's what stage that the buyer is in, there is the SEO piece of it, right? There's all the what channel is it being used in? Like all these things come into play. So like even when you're developing a content strategy, what is your approach? Where do you focus?
So I've hmm, that's a good question. So before I even start any keyword research, and it's funny because a lot of people, and I used to do the same, used to start with keyword research, but
Mm-hmm.
now I start with customer and product research because that
Mm-hmm.
helps me drive, okay, what are the keywords that the people searching that are looking for a solution right now would be searching? And again, that's just what I've built my consultancy around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like to start with customer and product research. I like to understand, okay, what are the prospects' pain points? Even before that, how many segments are we targeting? Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so many people write content in a vacuum where it's just
Yes.
like, okay, we're talking to one person, one this, one that.
Yep.
If you have a horizontal SaaS company, you are not talking to one person.
That's right.
You're not talking to one persona. You're talking to multiple ICPs, and then within those ICPs or personas, you're talking to, like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to
Yep.
like really break things out. So I like to do that first. So I can get a lay of the land. I'm like, okay, we have four different products. Each one of these products is talking to a different persona. We're targeting different segments per product. Like, I like to get that granular again because
Mm-hmm.
content isn't written in a vacuum. Like, what one segment of your audience will care about, another will not care about, right?
Correct.
So it's like, and that gets into like feature dumping and things like that. But it's like the customer and product research. Then from there, I like to do the keyword research. And again, I let the customer and product research drive the keyword research. When I'm done the keyword research, that's when I'll get either myself or one of my copywriters to start filling in a framework for
Okay.
them, based on what I've seen rank over and over. So the information flow of this kind of works like this. So right now I'm fractional for one client. So what I like to do is like, I don't want to say use them as a guinea pig because what we do works, but I like to test things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to test different frameworks. I like to test different angles of things. And then what'll happen is once I find something that works consistently, I'll roll it back into the productized business. So
Okay.
for reference, the fractional and the productized business are kind of separate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fractional, I'm doing a little bit more, like I'm overseeing fractional. I'm the bridge between content and demand gen. Like,
Okay.
right, with the consultancy, I'm still sitting in content, but then I go lower and I'm the bridge between content and product to be able to write the bottom of funnel content. So it's like what I learned from fractional, like I take it and dump it into the productized consultancy and then we
Sure.
run it like that.
Okay.
But that's literally the entire process, right? So breaking down the segments,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the customer and product research, doing the keyword research, and
Mm-hmm.
then publishing based on that. But baking like the benefits and the capabilities and the
Mm-hmm.
pain points and
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff into the content, like
Yeah.
that's really important. It's a step that a lot of people miss.
A lot of people miss it for sure. I feel like that thing that you said about like the short-sightedness is just so true. I feel like sometimes the pressure is so heavy to get out content that it's just get it out and then let's move on to the next thing. There really isn't a lot of deep thought into all the things that you just said. What are
Yes.
the segments here? Is it really communicating the benefits that we want to? How does it stand up with keyword research? Like the depth is not allowed to be there because the speed of which you have to create content is so
So
fast.
true. So
Yeah.
true. And it's why I'm happy I have an audience so I could because again, I'll tell leaders in a minute, like you can't expect for a two-person content team to be able to create ebooks and create resources and work on
Yeah.
the blog and do the YouTube and do all
Yeah.
these things, and you're wondering why the marketing isn't working. It's because they can't go deep
Right.
with, you know what I mean? They can't go
Yeah.
deep with their execution. They have to go wide. Like that's why you hire a fractional whatever, head of content,
Hmm.
whatever, right?
Hmm.
Those are the
Hmm.
overseers, right? They make sure each part of everything is functioning, but you need specialized people for these jobs. Like, so there needs to be somebody specifically focused on the blog. There needs
Right.
to be somebody specifically focused on the YouTube channel. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like
Yes.
where the person could go deep. So, and it's like, that's why, and again, this isn't something I realized until I started consulting, but it's like, with consulting, they bring me in to perform a very specialized function. So
Hmm.
I have the time to go deep
Right.
instead of wide, right? Because they're paying me to come in and say, okay, here's the problem, here's what's going. But people in house face a different struggle because it's like they when people think of content, there's like no breakage in that. There's just like
Right.
content, everything.
Yeah.
That's
Correct.
YouTube, resources, that's
Yeah.
blog, it's social, it's everything, right?
Hmm.
Instead, if they were to break that apart a little bit, um, and stop trying to get content strategists and content marketing managers to do head of content's jobs, that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So, what do you do about, or how do you approach the I don't think companies, I know companies don't give content enough breath, space, time to produce results. So
Yeah.
you mentioned a little bit in the beginning, like, do you have a structure for, look, first 3 months, we're just kind of testing, setting baselines, or look, like, is this a 6 month roadmap, or is this like, this has to be good for a year or up and down? Like, how do you approach to push back on that? Oh my God, it's been 3 weeks and we don't have millions of dollars in sales. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
how
Yeah.
do you give the time and space to let the content do its job?
That's a great question. Again, I think it comes back to what we were talking about before, like setting that expectation with them. So,
Mhm.
like for my engagements, the highest number of articles I will write in a month is 5,
Okay.
and that's on the high end.
Yeah.
Like 3 is really good,
Yeah.
and let me preface by saying this. 3 bottom of funnel articles, like if we're talking about pipeline,
Hmm.
3 bottom of funnel articles are gonna take you farther than 50 top of funnel. Top of funnel
Absolutely.
is still important though, right? Like
Right.
it's up it's the first stage in the nurture
Yes.
sequence that that person has to go through. It's important.
Right.
But when it comes to bottom of funnel, like I let them know, like we are focused on quality, not quantity.
Absolutely.
Um, and it's one of the ways I formed my competitive differentiation. So my competitive stance is against agencies because agencies,
Yep.
traditional SEO agencies, sell their clients on, okay, so we're going to produce, 25 pieces this month and things
Yep.
like that. But it's like, personally, I get better results focusing on 3 blogs a month than they get focusing on 20 a month because I'm very intentional
Yep.
about what I write. Like again, being able to go deep versus wide.
Yep.
When somebody comes to me, they're not expecting me to do top of funnel. I'll dip into middle of funnel again
Okay.
because depending on how you position that, you can drive conversions from it.
Sure.
But they know I'm not doing top of funnel. They know I'm not doing YouTube. They know I'm not doing social. Like I
Right.
focus on one very specific thing. And I believe wholeheartedly that's why they can get the results that we can get is because they
Hmm.
know, okay, Lashay is focused on this very specific thing and they let
Right.
me do the thing. Like
Right.
that's another big thing. It's like, again, everybody feels like they know how to do our jobs. It's like,
Right.
let them do the thing
Right.
that you hired them to do.
Right.
Um, yeah, and I think And it's crazy because a lot of these problems again go back to leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and the type of culture they've amassed in house and how they
Mm-hmm.
treat their employees. And again, if you're like, oh, we got to get out 20 pieces a month, and people feel like they got to keep up with the Zapiers and the Mondays of the
Right.
world, where it's like, no, you don't have to do that. You just need to be very intentional about what you are writing and help your employees keep a focus in what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you commit at all to any type of results, or it's like, look, my job is to get you 3 articles a month, that, and then what happens with them, or is it like, look, I get you 3 articles a month, you need 3 months to let those breathe, and then we'll look at how it's performing and we'll optimize from there. What's your approach?
Yeah. So it's more of like, depending on the package they have, we'll do 3, 4, or 5 articles a month, and I let them
Mhm.
know it's like, okay, so the first 30 days we're doing nothing but customer research. Like we're
Okay.
diving deep into customer research. From month 2 we'll start publishing, and I let them know you need to give these articles at least 90 days,
Hmm.
not to just rank, but to be able to start seeing
Yeah.
a conversion or 2 come from them.
Yep.
And then remember what I was saying before, like content marketing is a moat. So as you continue to like write the content and let it build up on itself, it'll
Yep.
continue to drive inbound leads, as long as you like keep it updated and you're giving some type of attention to those posts. But I
Hmm.
always level set that. I'm like, okay, we're
Yeah.
going to do this, but you need to expect for it to take this long and do this amount. And usually like I never really have a problem with that. A lot of times they don't have a choice,
Right.
because
Thanks.
they, outside of the algorithm, right, doing what it wants to do, but they don't
Hmm.
have a choice because they've been in so much pain over such a long period of time.
Hmm.
Meaning like, oh, they're like, oh, well, I see my traffic increasing, but it's not correlating to like inbound interest. Why is that? And they've been trying to
Hmm.
use the SEO agency that they've been trying to use for like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months with no
Yep.
results on that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, now they're in pain. And it's funny because a lot of people will come to me before they sign up for the SEO agency. I'm like, well, make sure you do this thing and make sure they're doing this and this and that. 9 months later, a year later, they'll come back to me and say, well, yeah, we tried to work with this agency, but they were too focused on top of funnel. And,
Hmm.
they only did once a month reporting. And, they didn't dive into my customer research the way I needed to. And like
Right.
just all these things.
Right.
And I know about them because I used to work at the agencies that would do that shit. You
Hmm.
know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yes,
Like, I used to
absolutely.
work there.
Right.
So when we're on calls, I know how to speak to it. I know how to
Yep.
say, "Okay, so your agency probably somebody else probably sold you and put a junior on your account, right?"
Correct.
"Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, like, yeah, that's totally
Hmm.
what happened." Because
Hmm.
I used to be the junior that was on the accounts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Girl, when the salesperson sells the dream and it's on you to fulfill it,
oh,
oh, it's the worst
so
position.
stressful. Like, and that's another thing I prided myself on starting a consultancy, that I wasn't just the expert, but people around me are
Yeah.
experts in the thing that they do as well, not
Yep.
like selling them, because this is my reputation on the line, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I
Yep.
wanna make sure they have the best experience. Everything that an agency does, I do the absolute opposite, and I
Opposite.
think,
Same.
right, you know what I mean? I think
Absolutely.
that's one of those things where it's like, okay, what are your differentiators? Going back to SaaS companies, like you can have, even if your differentiation is just to be just I say differentiator being different, but I mean like if your differentiator, so like for example, for mine, where an SEO agency would give you reporting once a month, I have a live tracking dashboard where they can see it at any time. We
Mhm.
get granular with, okay, this blog post brought in this many conversions, or
Mhm.
this many people looked at it, or they looked at 4 or 5 blog posts before they got to this one and convert.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So just like
Mhm.
giving them insight that they didn't have before. Again,
Absolutely.
when they come in and they're like, okay, boom, I'm working on their account. I'm finding the keywords. I'm pairing
Yep.
with a copywriter that's better than me at writing.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean? So traditionally agencies are like, okay, boom, you're sold by the founder and then hand it off to a junior. Like I'm trying to not even necessarily hand them off, but I want people working on their account that's better than me at writing,
Yeah,
you know? Like
for
I'm good
sure.
at the frameworks, but I hate writing. I hate it.
Right.
Um, but I'm good at coming up with a framework for things. But the reason I'm good at coming up with frameworks because I don't like writing. Like,
Right.
you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Right.
Bringing a copywriter that knows a thing or two, like they're gonna be off. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's missed that like companies really want you to be honest with them and level set expectations. I feel like
Mm.
there's been so much dream selling by vendors and agencies, and we gonna get you this much revenue and we're gonna do that, and all these promises and all this stuff that people are burnt out on it. So when you come to them and be like, look, this is a minimum 6 months. Like, you're not going to see that much. If you do, it's great. But like, I'm with my clients, I'm like, the first 90 days is setting baselines. Like, we just need to see where you're at. Stop comparing yourself to the industry. We need to see where you're at
Yes.
base. That's the first 90 days. Establish that because I need consistency across there. And
Yes.
then we can start seeing like something results. And then, but based on that, we're going to optimize from there. So it's like, and they appreciate that. And then on top of it, you're giving, your expertise and your tips and things that you've seen along the way and how to fix this and that and the other thing. And like top of the funnel, like we need to be focused on establishing a relationship with these people. What does that look like? Right? Like, is that
Yes.
that's repeat. That's them coming back for more information from us, right? That's
Yes.
so them landing on the page one time does me no good. That's not a good metric for me. I don't care. Right.
Right.
I need to see time on page. I need to see repeat. That's the stuff I care about. Those are things I'm going to optimize. What gets us there? Right. So it's like giving them realistic metrics instead of like impressions. I don't give a damn. What does that have to do
Right.
with
Oh
anything?
no, totally. Like I just that's so true. And that's one of the things like I would tell my clients too. I'm like, okay, so let me guess. Your SEO agency is again, because I used to be the person that had to put together the reports
Mm-hmm.
and talk to them about a bunch of stuff they didn't care about.
Right.
Oh, our traffic increased this amount this month. They're like, okay, how much money did we make? Okay, how many conversions came in again? Like,
Right.
that's what now, again, level setting that expectation to let them know, okay, but then at the same time, like, bro, if it's been 6, 7 months, this person has been working with us, because they
Right.
don't start to one thing I noticed is like when they were working with the SEO agencies, they didn't ask for that right away.
Right.
They gave it some time, right? It was like
Right.
5, 6 months before they would start to ask, like, okay,
What's
well,
going on here? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
where's the, how are we? Because they want to know, and this is half the reason that people in content now or the higher ups feel like content marketing is just this black box where
Right.
they just throw things into it and they don't know what's going to come out. Okay, let's put
Right.
10,000 in this month and see what we get, right?
Exactly. Facts.
I feel like a lot of that was derived from how agencies treat these these companies. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell them again, everything that an agency does, I'm just literally the opposite. Like they're focused
Right.
on scale, I'm focused on quality.
Right.
They're focused on once a month reporting. I'm like, you can see whatever you want whenever you want, right?
Right.
Their process is more of like, okay, on the back end, we take our team and we go do it. Like, no, we do it open right in
Yes.
front of you.
Right in front of you. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just I feel like, and not every SEO agency is bad.
No.
But so many of them are just so janky, have
Yeah.
done a lot of bad stuff where it's just like
Yeah.
these people get burned
Yeah.
and then they don't want to invest in SEO when SEO is such a great growth lever if it works in your go to market.
Right.
Um, but a lot of people just don't want to do it because they've been burned.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of SEO companies are good up until a certain point and then they fall apart. Right? It's like
Yes.
they may
Yes.
be good at like setting you up with structure, on the technical side, getting you tight or whatever. But when it comes to actually then taking that to the next level and having to produce results from it, a lot of them struggle because that requires marketing skills. And they
Yeah.
don't have marketing skills, they have SEO skills. Those are not the same thing.
Oh, that's a good distinction. That's a
Mhm.
great distinction. Marketing skills versus SEO
SEOs.
skills.
Hey man, I feel
Mm.
like that's the SEO people that I know are very good happen to be very technical people, right? Like they're very in the woods with like the technical side and like all the Google updates, and they're Google heads. They're not
Mm.
marketers per se. Like you said, they're not
That's so
content
interesting.
writers.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because a lot of even I, as a writer, was taught to, okay, so when you want to write a piece of content, what you do is you type in the keyword in Google that you want to
Hmm.
rank for,
Hmm.
and you look at the top 10 results. And what you do is you pull some of the information from the top
Yep.
10 and spin it and make your own thing.
Right.
I had to totally disassociate from that way of thinking,
Mm.
especially for bottom of funnel, because it's
Mhm.
like the information that you need to write bottom of funnel articles does not come from Google. It comes from within your org.
That's right.
So I had to like, I'm like, oh my God, how do you do this? And it was such a crazy learning curve that I'm like, okay, if
Mhm.
I struggle with this, I know somebody else is struggling with this too.
Absolutely.
Which was where like the content marketing dashboard came in, because I'm like, what if they had one place, one single source of truth to put all of their product and customer information into?
Mhm.
And then that's where it was like the light bulb went off. I'm like, okay, this is the thing that I needed when I was trying to write
Mhm.
bottom of funnel content. I think this is the thing that other people need too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good, an excellent segue into next question, which is about poor quality content and good quality content, right? I think that, like I said, the biggest issue I see in marketing pervasively is just poor quality content. It's just not written in a way that is engaging to the audience or that establishes what the benefit of what they're going to get from your product or service. So how do you, because you are providing the articles for your clients,
Yes.
how do you work with them to produce the content? So are they giving you some template? Are they in the review process? How do you work with them to actually create good quality content?
It's a good question. So my process is very transparent. They see everything that I'm doing at any time. And
Mhm.
it's funny, side tangent, people would think like, "Oh, well, aren't they going to be bothering you?" It's like, "No. The more they can see, actually the less they bother you, I
Yep.
find. It
Yep.
keeps me off of calls, like
Yep.
very a sync process. Like they
Mhm.
just they watch it. Um but how this kind of works is, so phase 1 is like that customer and product research. We'll fill out kind of like this canvas that gets the content and product team aligned. We make sure they're good on that. That's like step 1. Step 2, I'm usually very independent with finding the keywords. Like that's
Mhm.
my thing, zone of
Mhm.
genius. So it's like I stick there, we're good there. So within the Notion that I've built, there's
Mhm.
something I have called a bottom of funnel content brief.
Okay.
Again, what we talked about earlier in the episode about feature dumping, I had
Yep.
mentioned that.
Yep.
This is where we make sure that we're talking about the specific features and the pain points and the capabilities that somebody would care about depending on the use case that they use to search the product, right?
Mhm.
So again, if you have like a horizontal SaaS, you're going to have multiple use cases.
Mhm.
Depending on the use case that somebody typed in to find the article is going to like guide the features and the capabilities that you talk about. So what we do is I have something called like a bottom of funnel content brief, and it's almost like the information that we gather from customer research is able to be, it's like a drag and drop type of thing. It's able to be drugged down into
Hmm.
the bottom of funnel content brief, so we know
Okay.
exactly what to talk about in this
Okay.
article. There's no confusion around, oh, do we talk about this feature or this
Right.
capability? Like they have eyes into, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. Are we good on this?
Right.
And then once we're good on the brief, that's when we execute on the actual framework. The way this works is the framework is comprised of like, again, pain points, benefits, capabilities, and I have
Mhm.
them like set up in a specific way, but it's like they let us know what capabilities and features we want to talk about, and then we talk about those in a way that positions the product as the right solution for the person searching
Right.
for
Okay.
it, right?
Okay.
So they're it's a back and forth, little bit of a back and forth process, but it's very a sync where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, it doesn't involve for us having a meeting, because again,
Right.
another thing, agencies wanting to jump on, okay, let's just hop on this meeting to do this and do that. Honestly,
Mhm.
the meeting thing was more of like, I don't like to be on meetings type of thing. So I'm gonna let you see everything that
Right.
I'm doing.
Right.
And they can communicate with me just by like highlighting something and
Mhm.
leaving me a comment.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yep.
keeping their team off of calls, because the problem up until this point, because last year I was offering strictly done with you.
Mhm.
So I would come in, put this dashboard for the team. Um, and what would happen is I would have their team fill in the frameworks, and I would just
Mm-hmm.
kind of go behind them and fix it up, kind of like a glorified
Mm.
editor.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the problem is everything we've been talking about in this episode. Teams are like
Right.
stretched,
Yep.
they're limited on resources, they have so much to
Yep.
do. So it's like, ah, here comes this girl coming in with this bottom of funnel thing. It looks complex. It's like, oh
Right.
God, another thing for me to do, another thing
Exactly.
to learn. So it's like and it's funny because I just made the decision like a week ago, but
Mhm.
made the decision to offer purely done for you strategy and execution.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah, because the execution is the thing. I say it's the thing that'll set me apart in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of that other SEO agencies do execute, but not to the depth that
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna execute. Yeah,
No. Yeah.
totally.
Not at all. Do you do any of reviewing their existing content or do you not care? Is there any updatings like this is actually performing okay, but we just need some tweaks? Or you just no, I'm just gonna this my the stuff I my 3 to 5 articles and I don't really care about what you got going on
No, well, yeah. So when I come in, I'll do an audit for them,
now. Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of times companies have worked with SEO agencies previously, and those
Mm-hmm.
SEO agencies have attempted to try to do bottom of funnel content. But I look at
Mm-hmm.
it and I'm like, ah, we can do better than that. So what
Right.
I'll do is I'll take that article and run it back through one of my frameworks.
Okay.
I've done this with a couple different clients now. Like the conversion increases on those are incredible.
Mm.
Those are some of the quickest wins that
Mm-hmm.
we can get because it's always going to be easier to like upgrade something versus creating something net new.
Yep.
So if they have any bottom of funnel articles that are on the blog already, I'll
Mm-hmm.
run those back through the framework and then we'll keep an eye on the
Mm-hmm.
conversion rate and if it increases. And then once we're done with those, then we'll start
Right.
creating net new pieces. Yes.
Do you so how do you so I know you focus on bottom of the funnel. Is there any do you do any work with the rest of the funnel in like connecting the dots? So like bringing people through from top to middle to bottom. Is there any like strategies that you have or in just in general advice for businesses because I feel like they don't connect the dots very well. It's like download review the blog and sign up for the blog and then I'll send you 1,000 emails or whatever. Or
Right.
like, here's the how-to guide and here's another 1,000 emails. Like there's no like nice connective thread that's like
Mm,
everyone did the Amazon like next logical offer type deal. Like I don't think we ever really got there in a B2B sense. It's always
mm.
just put them in a nurture and send them 20,000 emails until we beat them into submission, I feel like.
No, totally. Yeah. So most of the times the companies that come to me have a good top of funnel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great question that you have about like stringing together the process in the event that they want me to do middle of funnel for them. Um, Usually that's at a higher price point again because
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because I thought bottom of funnel was more tricky, but again with middle of funnel being more ambiguous, that's actually more tricky.
It is.
So if they want me to come and do that for them, I will. And usually
Mm-hmm.
like the companies that come to me have a good top of funnel. Um, and it's crazy. It's almost like they don't realize they have a bottom of funnel problem until they have their top of funnel in place because
Mm-hmm.
they
Yep, that's real.
they yeah, they come to me and they're like, "Oh, we're getting traffic, top of
Right.
funnel, but we're
Yep.
not getting leads. We're not getting
Correct.
inbound interest. Like we're getting resource downloads,
Right.
but those people aren't turning into leads. Like what
Correct.
there's a gap here."
Absolutely.
And usually like for them, I'll convert that like top of funnel interest into like inbounds, whether it be like
Mhm,
so the funny thing is for the fractional client that I'm working with,
mhm,
that's more where I'm like, okay, top to bottom connective tissue on
mm,
everything. So to
mhm,
give you an example of what that would look like. So for example, if we have a bottom of funnel article that's converting really well,
mhm,
one thing that we've tried that has worked well at least for the first one so far is taking that article that we already know converts really well and repurposing it into a webinar. So
mhm,
yeah, so this company sells to government agencies. So as you can
mhm,
imagine, there's like very few times where people are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pay 100K plus for this thing."
Right.
Um, we're talking about buying committees, and not just buying committees, but it's politics mixed in this a little
Mhm.
bit. Like, it's a lot
Mhm.
of stuff. Um,
Yep.
so it's like, again, going back to that, the consumption idea, and how are they consuming the bottom of funnel content? And sometimes, like, even when they hit the bottom of funnel article, they're not ready to talk to sales just yet.
Right.
They want more information. So that's when we're like, okay, let's send them to an evergreen webinar where it's like we're demonstrationally like running through the product, how it works. And all we're in the slides for the webinar is literally just the blog, but in slide form, right? So we
Right.
talk about this key feature, we have like a GIF or like a photo, and then we talk about the capabilities slide, and just go through the slides with that.
Right.
Um, and again, the cool thing about that is that it keeps congruency between the different nurture phases,
Mhm.
right? So they
Mhm.
came in on an
Mhm.
article, they read it, boom, like capabilities, features, wow, right? They go to the webinar, they see a lot of the same thing, but it's different because now it's somebody talking you through it. Now
Right.
you get to have a Q&A. They get to ask
Right.
questions, get their questions answered.
Right.
Um, I've even seen, and I have very, very little data on this, but I've seen a little bit of positive signal from having live chat on bottom of funnel articles,
Yeah, for sure. I can see
you
that.
know? So
Mhm.
it's like, again, using that fractional to test different theories. And then once I see something work consistently, then I
Mhm.
could put it out and give it to the world and say, okay, here's what I've been doing and here's why it works. But yes, like for the companies that like to engage me a little bit higher, that's when I'll start taking that bottom of funnel and repurposing it, even middle of funnel too, right? Because if you have,
Mhm.
so remember I was saying earlier in the episode, it's like middle funnel is like how to do the
Right.
thing.
Right.
Companies could take that and repurpose it into a YouTube video
Yeah.
of how to do the thing, right? But it's
Yeah.
like they don't think about that because they're not thinking about how everything connectively ties together, and
Exactly.
not just content, but everything, like
Everything.
YouTube and social
Yep.
and email
Yes.
and
Yes.
blog, and you
Yes.
know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
when I take on companies in a fractional capacity, that's what I'm exercising. I don't do a lot of those because they are
It's a
mentally
lot.
heavy,
Yeah.
where like the productized consultancy is literally me running them through the same process over and over.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, like I, again, on those higher engagements, I'll go through that and be that kind of connective tissue, not just across content and demand gen, but like
Yeah.
a full funnel type of thing. Okay, we bring them in with an ebook at the top of the funnel. Okay,
Mhm.
how do we get them to the middle? Okay, how do we
Right.
move them from middle to bottom, right?
Right.
When they're at the
Exactly.
bottom, what do we get them to do to reach out? Okay, we build an evergreen webinar, except we're not going to come up with an entirely new piece. We're going to repurpose this piece that they were just on, that they just read,
Exactly.
into a webinar that they can sign up for. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's just like,
1000%.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
totally.
I deal a lot with small businesses, and for my small business clients, I'm always, what's the offer? What's the ask? So it's like you
Yes,
give them an offer, but then there's an ask, right? There is a sign up for this or download this,
yes,
or it can be as simple as just follow me, keeping them in your ecosystem in some kind
yeah,
of way, right?
totally, totally.
Keeping them in your blog. That is a win, right? If
Yeah,
someone comes to me, right, and they read my stuff and all they do is follow me on LinkedIn, win. I love it. It's fantastic.
yes.
Can't, like, I'm happy with that. I will take that all day. So it's like I feel like sometimes people want to hit the home run every time, and I'm like, just take
That's
the
exactly
single.
what they want to do. And it doesn't even us as consultants, right? Think about like for everybody that followed us on LinkedIn, if we were expecting that person to be like, oh, okay, let me have a sales call with them, that's
Right.
just
It's crazy.
unrealistic, right? Like you have
Exactly.
to
It's
get
nuts.
them in your ecosystem and you have to continuously stay top of mind.
That's
How
right.
do you do that? You publish, you publish, you publish. What do you publish? Things that surround their specific pain points. Like, so for
That
me,
part.
again, like the clients that I take on have a good top of funnel, but their bottom of funnel is lacking. So what do? I do a bunch of content on bottom of funnel, right? Like
Exactly.
just keeping it in their head over and over
Yep.
and over. So when it comes time for them to create a bottom of funnel
You tell
strategy,
them.
I'm literally the first person that like you were the first person I thought of, or
Exactly.
something cool that happens too. even people that don't get to work with me will refer me to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, "Oh, so and so said you were great." I'm like, "I've never worked with this person ever."
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you're top of mind
Yes.
for somebody, like that's what happens. It's a
It's
snowball effect for people.
this is exactly what I teach all of the time. So, like, my whole perspective on marketing is brand evangelism, right? Because I feel like
Totally.
that's
Yes.
the
Yes.
way to scale your marketing properly. And it's the most bang for your buck and the biggest way that you're going to overcome a pandemic or a recession is to have brand evangelists who
Yes.
speak on your behalf. And you
Yes.
don't have to do all of the work. But just like you said, a lot of that is just keeping people in your ecosystem with your consistent brand message. A lot of people are not going to be ready to buy your product right now. But if they know what you do, when I know run into somebody who needs that thing, oh, guess who I know? I know. Even though they haven't met you from a can of paint, but they
Totally.
stay in your face all the time. That happens
I
all the time.
I found it fascinating too. And even what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode when you were like, what are like some old marketing that's not going to be the same as like new
Right.
marketing? So one of the
Yes.
things was like link building. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so many companies are afraid to let their employees build personal brands. But
Yes.
not only is it good for the employee to have their personal brand, because why wouldn't you want them to have security in the event
Right.
that they get laid off, something happens, right?
Right.
But leadership doesn't think about it in a way of like, okay, if I let this person build their personal brand, but also become a product evangelist, how
Mm-hmm.
many backlinks could I get from that? Like
Exactly.
it's companies are so focused on like, okay, let me go to this agency and see how many links they could get us and see what our link building campaign looks like.
Right.
When it's like your employees will be some of the best link builders you will
Yeah.
ever have.
Yeah.
And for not even a fraction of the cost that it would go to a link building agency. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
A
every
thousand percent.
podcast they get on, every
Yes.
guest post they do,
Yep.
every time they're featured, head of
Yep.
content at X company.
Right. Yeah. And the number of people that follow them basically going to see your content.
Yes.
That's like 10x the audience.
Yes. Yes.
It's just so like the whole idea I try to teach is like take the burden of marketing off your shoulders, man. Spread
Totally.
it to as many people as you possibly
Yes.
can. That
Yes.
is the way. Okay, so as we kind of get towards the end here, a couple of things.
Okay.
So where do you we haven't talked a lot about it, and it's the 1,000 pound gorilla in the room, AI. So
Yeah.
AI and content, I feel like from a marketing standpoint, are almost like tied at the hip. I feel like most people, when they think about AI and marketing, it's to produce content.
Mm.
It's not going anywhere, right? But I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way. A lot of people ain't doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what is your advice around utilizing AI to create
Stop using AI for the purpose of scaling and use it for nuance,
content?
right? Like, so in the event that you do have internal collateral, use AI to help you filter through that collateral and pull out key messaging points and
Mm,
like specific pain points and understanding your segments better. And again, you said it so brilliantly. You're like the difference between like having SEO skills and marketing skills. It's like AI isn't supposed to AI is not supposed to be like a one, what am I trying to say? Like a full service type of solution.
right,
It's supposed to fill in your gaps, not
right,
cover the entire thing, not
right,
cover the whole gap. Like it fills in gaps within your workflow.
right.
Um, that's how it needs to be used. But again, like when AI first came out, it's like, oh, everybody's trying to hop on this thing. Jasper is a picture perfect example of this.
Hmm.
Um, and I promise I'm not just saying this because I got smoke with the founder, but kidding, kidding. But honestly, like when they first came out, like they were on top of the AI thing,
Hmm.
um, which was great. But the thing is, AI became, I'm trying to figure out how to word it because I want to word it right.
Hmm.
AI was the use case.
Hmm.
AI is not your use case.
Right.
AI is a modifier to the use case, right?
Mhm.
So your use case is the thing that you do. It's how people use your product to accomplish a goal.
Right.
You sprinkle AI on top of that to make that
Right.
quicker, faster, better.
Right.
Not AI is not your use case, right? So
Right.
it's like people get that messaging mixed up too, where it's like, oh, AI this and AI that. I was like, okay, what is your use case? Because that's the thing that helps you identify the product market fit. AI is
Yep.
not going to help you identify your product market fit. Like,
No.
it's just not going to do it.
Nope.
I made an example of like people treating AI like people treating AI like the steak when it should really be the gravy. Like,
Okay. I like
yeah,
that.
like the use case is the steak, and the AI is just
Right.
like what you put
Yeah.
on top of it to give it that extra razzle dazzle, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that's how people need to start looking at AI. Um,
Yeah.
the sentiment around AI is still kind of wishy washy. It's like you've got people that
Hmm.
absolutely love it, you got people
Yep.
that absolutely hate it,
Hate it.
um,
Hmm.
and it's because the reason I feel like people hate it is because, like every good thing, marketers use and abuse it,
Bastardize it. Yep.
you know, and it's like
Hmm.
once they've had a bad experience with that, bad
Yeah.
experience, i.e., the agency that you were working with using ChatGPT to write your content, and then
Yep.
because I've had to hear about it, they're like,
Yep.
"Oh, I spend more time editing the piece and da 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 da." It's like
Hmm.
that's another thing with the consultancy. It's like I want
Yep.
them to spend as little time on editing as possible. When we get done with a piece, it's
Right.
time to publish. You don't need to go
Right.
through edit. No.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is like just letting people know like use AI to enhance a current use case,
Hmm.
not to necessarily be the use case.
Yeah.
And again, that's why Jasper has been struggling a bit. Like even if you go to their homepage, you can tell the homepage messaging was written with AI. Like,
Yes. That part. So this is the part where I'm at. It's like it was cute in 23 when it was novel, but
right.
we've seen it now.
Yeah.
So it is not hard to tell what is ChatGPT written. Stop trying to unleash the power and transform stop
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah. Revolutionize.
Come on
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
We know it. I'm like, at least take the emojis out. Come on, bro.
It's
So
the rocket one.
I
That's
can't,
like AI
come
mascot,
on.
like the
Hey,
rocket
come on.
emoji.
It's like we gotta stop it. And this is where like we get sick of marketing ruin everything. Y'all ruin stuff. And now it's not fun anymore.
I know, I know.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
we gotta stop.
now it's like so for the companies, all the companies, even Copy.ai had the problem where they had to change their entire positioning
Hmm.
to go to market.
Yeah,
They had it's insane. They had to
yeah.
change their go to market to go to market. Like, you know
Real
what I
talk.
mean? It's like because
Real
again,
talk.
when you make AI the actual use case, like I said, it was cute,
Right. It's cute.
2023.
Last year, exactly.
But the problem is AI is now commoditized. Everybody
Right.
has access to it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people can build custom workflows and any type of thing that they
Yep.
it's like the companies that will outlast that whole AI boom and burst are the companies that already had a strong use case. They
Yep.
just use AI to enhance that a little bit. So maybe it helps
That's
with this
it.
workflow a little quicker. Maybe you can integrate
Exactly.
this thing and do that. But
Right.
it's like, yeah, the companies that tried to hit the market as quick as possible, I blame these VCs too. Cause
Yep.
it's
I
like
do. Same.
you spewed them money.
Yep.
Anything that had AI on it, they was like, oh, I'm just gonna dump loads and
Right.
millions of dollars on you.
Yep.
And now the team has to come up with a way to like, damn, like now everybody has AI. Like, how do we differentiate?
Yes.
You don't differentiate because
Yep.
you went to market with AI as a use case.
Right. Exactly. 1000%. I just think, like you said, I mean, it's not going to supplement good marketing practice and principles. It's just not. Like,
No.
you have to have that first. And then you want to add, like you said, add on, adjust, optimize, all be it. But
Yes.
I hate everybody's out here with the prompt. put in your market in their and then tell AI to be like, oh, I'm the top small business marketing problems, and then here you got 10 blogs ready to go. Take that topic, put it in, and create a blog. It's like, sir, that is just copying the internet of everything that's already out there. Ain't nothing special about what AI is about to produce for you that
Yep.
anybody's going to want. They can't get 50 times over from a simple Google search. Like, you
Yep.
have to think beyond these sorts of things. Y'all are just producing content to produce it, which is just a wasteland.
Yes.
What are we trying to accomplish here? What is
Yes.
special about this for the audience? What's the problem? What is the benefit? Why would they care?
Yes. Totally. 1,000%. And it's like, I'm sure agencies thought that this was the best thing since sliced
Yeah.
bread
Yep.
because, like, oh, now I can really scale and I don't got to hire as many people and this, that, and the third. But it's like the real Google OGs know that, yeah, the good things come to an end, right? So even with the private
Yes.
blog networks and all that, we've been through our time where those got slapped
Yep.
down and anything that was
Yep.
associated with them got slapped down. So it's like
Yep.
to think that it was going to be that easy to be able to rank and just get all like no. And you still
No.
have people preaching, I don't want no smoke, so I won't say no names, but you
Right.
still have people preaching, okay, so we used AI to create 450 articles over the
Exactly.
span of 2 weeks. I'm
Right.
like, cool, but is any of those gonna, first of all, is Google gonna be able to tell you did that and slap it down over a
Right.
certain period of time as it gets more cognizant about what's AI produced, what's not AI
Right.
produced? So it's
Right.
like, it's just again, it's just like understanding how to use AI for the use case of nuance and not
Yep.
for the use case of just scale, scale, scale. Because scaling is not, again, you don't have to be a Monday or a Zapier of the world. Even if
No.
you're a
Or
smaller,
HubSpot. Yeah.
totally, if you're a smaller startup and you've got product market fit and your go to market motion is SEO tied in there somewhere, you don't have to be like
No.
those companies. You can keep your content very intentional and
Yep.
run laps around people that are just publishing and not keeping their content intentional.
Easily, easily. I think our companies are examples of that too.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't take a lot. Just be true to your philosophy, your point of view, be
Yeah.
consistent, and they will come. It's okay.
They will. Yeah.
So, last question is, so what is your prediction for the future? The next 5 years of content marketing, how do you see it differentiating from the last 5 to 10? And what do you think is going to be the way to win in the future using content marketing?
Single handedly, I think it's just going to be putting your customer first, like in
Hmm.
everything that you do, every marketing function that there is, putting them first, right? Because they run the business in a
Yeah.
way. It's like they they they're the ones that pay the bills, they keep the lights on, they do all those things. So like why not focus on them having a tight customer feedback loop? So when they tell you like, "Okay, I want this thing," you giving that information to product or, just
Hmm.
communication. Let's just say that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Great communication is going to separate companies that succeed from companies that don't.
Hmm.
I think again, being very customer centric. I think back to the AI thing, using AI for nuance and
Hmm.
not for scale.
Yep.
Just like you so wonderfully said earlier,
Hmm.
understanding the difference between SEO skills and marketing skills,
Hmm.
um, just alignment across teams. Leadership is going to have to get better um,
Yes.
on not just not just how they communicate with teams, but the type of goals and expectations they require from
Right.
teams. Because a lot of, I see over the next 5 years, like a lot of in house employees turning into consultants. Um,
Hmm.
if no other reason, so they could do what I couldn't do in house, which
Hmm.
was focus on depth, because they
Yeah.
probably have a thing they really, really like to do, but they just
Right.
can't because they're too busy doing everything else, where they could literally
Right.
step out and build a niche consultancy around the thing they love to do.
It's
um,
true.
and get paid well for it. You know what I mean? So it's
For
like
sure.
I definitely see within the next 5 years, like a lot of people that are in house turning into consultants. I think that content marketing is going to get more difficult, and we're going to have
Yeah.
to be like more intentional about how we execute on it. And I think running a consultancy has taught me loads about the buyer's journey, and how people buy, and like the psychology behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that people buy when they want to.
Yep.
You can't really
Point.
control when they
Period.
buy something. Only
Point.
thing you can do is stay top of mind. So when they're ready to put you on the short list of people they want to choose from, you'll be on that list, right?
Yep.
So it's just like just understanding those buying patterns, just getting more into psychology, less SEO tactical,
Yeah.
more customer focused and product focused. And I believe that's why I've been able to like find a little bit of a vein with mine,
Mm-hmm.
because with my consultancy, because it's like I don't want to say I'm on the forefront of that change, but I'm just like bringing awareness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like hello, like the reason that you're having this problem that you're having is because these two teams are communicating. Let's fix that.
Right.
Um and it's like and it's so much space for other people to do this too. It's like
Absolutely.
somebody could start a consultancy on just top of funnel content. Somebody could start
Easy.
one on just middle of funnel
Eat crazy.
easily.
Yep.
Somebody could start one just on analytics. Somebody could start one just doing resources for top of funnel, like
Yep.
downloads and documents. And
Yep.
it's so, and that's why I said I feel like a lot of people are going to be transitioning out of in-house
Mm-hmm.
over the next 5 years for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as you explain it. I can definitely see that. There's so many gaps
Yes.
in the marketplace right now to help and optimize marketing. I feel like the change that I've been seeing heavily is a shift away from technical and technology. It's just we've just been so over reliant on it the last 15 years, and I feel like that swing is finally starting to come back. That freaking and I love Scott Brinker. I think he's a genius, but that his martech landscape of like I don't even know how many thousands of tools are on it now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like we don't need 10,000 freaking marketing tools. It's just insanity, right? It started out with like 1800 or something. It's like
Mm.
over the last decade we got to some I don't even know how many thousands. It's ridiculous. Like we have to come back, and it's gotten us. It's we've gotten so technical that we've gotten away from core marketing principles that we have a generation of marketers who don't really understand or know
Mm.
them, which is why I feel like it's so difficult to be successful in marketing right now. You have a bunch of people who know how to make content and put up nurture programs and do lead scoring, but we don't have a lot of people who understand communication, customer relationship, audience identification, like 4 Ps. We don't have a lot of people who understand fundamental marketing principles,
Yes.
of which then they can't really do marketing successfully or well. So I
Right.
feel like there's got to be a pendulum swing back to the middle where we can still use the technology, but the technology has to be supported and optimized with good fundamental marketing.
Yes.
And I feel like you're doing that. I know that is my whole goal here. I feel like the people who
Yeah.
are going to be moving out of corporate and doing their own practices, I feel like are going to be focusing on those areas too, because that's where you're going to be successful at.
Yes.
So
Yes.
future of content marketing, in my opinion, like you said, definitely more customer focused. I feel like there's no question about that
Yeah.
whatsoever. I feel like there's work to go a little bit beneath the surface of what we've been doing. So for problem, for example, we know feature functionality is an issue, but there's also like people are they buy with emotion and justify it with logic, right? So there is sort of like
Yes.
that sense of belonging, sense of community, sense of security, like those emotional levers, like impacts my
Totally.
lifestyle, makes me feel a certain way, puts me in a higher position. Like all of those things are value adds too that I don't think, especially B2B marketing, focuses on at all. And they're massive. And
Mm.
speaking to those things and getting to those things on top of the feature functionality and save time and money and all the other stuff is going to make your product more sticky in the market. And if you can get to that, you're going to be very, very much more successful. And being able to get to the like, what is the real issue? I always use Peloton as the example. Like, Peloton is not selling you a bike, they're selling you a community and access to their trainers, of which helps you.
Mm.
It keeps you motivated to continue to use the bike, right?
Mm.
Like they're really selling you motivation when you think about all the when you pull away the layers, right? So it's like that thing, right? It's it is the thing, but then it's not the thing. The thing is the bike is the avenue we're using to sell you motivation, which is that's where we communicate to you.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to those sorts of things, I feel like is the real crux of like, let's push marketing back in that direction so
Yes.
that we can get the revenue that is so promised through the technology.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Like you said, like Peloton is just it's just it's just the thing that they use to sell the real thing.
Right.
It makes so much sense to me. It's like people want to feel like they belong. It's like
Right.
people buy from people.
Yes.
Hence why you start to see, if you're on Instagram or TikTok or any of these other social medias, where you start to see like company accounts engaging with the
Yeah.
customers now because they want to feel like there's somebody behind that logo.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
the days of like, oh, big logos and oh, I can't see the CEO, he's way up in the
No.
shadows, just long gone. Like founder
No.
led is like so important. Like people want to
Yeah.
get to know the founder, they want to talk to the founder. So no, I totally agree with you.
For sure. Awesome. This has been a fantastic conversation. Lachey, I could have talked to you for like 2 more hours easily.
Yes.
You already know. We'll have to do this again sometime. Thank you for your perspective. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn. I'm on
Okay.
LinkedIn like it's nobody's business. Most
Mm-hmm.
days of the week, I put out content visuals just to break down content strategy and help teams understand, if they have that problem. Yeah, I have a free content marketing dashboard if anybody wants to go download that.
Ooh,
We can, I'm sure like you can put it in the show notes too, but if
for
anybody
sure.
wants to go there, it's authorityplug.com/content hyphen dashboard. That was the dashboard that I was referencing in the episode, completely free. Go grab that,
Nice.
check it out.
Awesome. Fantastic. I'm going to go check that out right now. That's fire.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining, sitting through this conversation. Again, my name is Moni Oluide. I am the owner and founder of Mo Martech. We teach all things marketing, so go to momartech.com to check that out. I do workshops where I teach all variety actions, functions of marketing. So go to momartech.com/workshops. Check those out. Follow me on socials, LinkedIn, again, primarily, and check out past episodes of the Do Good Marketing podcast, again, where we talk about all things marketing and marketing done good. Check you guys on the next one. Peace.